He said, thou anointest me with fresh oil. Fresh oil. Fresh oil. Fresh oil. You need fresh oil, sir. And you know the key to fresh oil? You pick it when it's leading you. Remember, the Bible said he will lead you in the path of righteousness. It's in the path of righteousness that the baptism of fresh oil takes place. In Psalm 45 verse 10 and Hebrews chapter 1, I think verse 8 or 9, it said, because thou lovest righteousness and hated iniquity. It said, even thy God has anointed you with fresh oil. And so the people who carry fresh oil are those who in his leading accept the demands of righteousness. There are most of us that although we are led of God, but we neglect righteousness. So God led you and gave you a job. And you entered the oil company. And suddenly you discover you can make 10 million every week. If you just join a group of people and change figures. And you say, Kai, this thing, now wow. Are you sure this is not the blessing of God in disguise? Because corruption can come in those parts. It is those who adopt righteousness that become enthroned. God gave you that job in the bank and you became manager. And you now discovered it's possible to, some cash are flowing here up and there's some things you can do. And you start bending corners. You start bending corners. You will dethrone yourself. Because the fresh oil is where God caps it up. But that fresh oil is a function of righteousness. You know what righteousness does? Righteousness, number one, makes the blessings of God an addition. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And it says, all the other things men seek shall be added. So the blessing is supposed to be a byproduct for those who walk in righteousness. That's why when God is leading you, he gives you the option of adopting righteousness as your way. If you latch onto righteousness, then fresh oil will come. The second thing fresh oil does is that it gives you influence. In Psalm 92 verse 10, it said, my horn hast thou exalted as the horn of the unicorn. It said, you have anointed me with fresh oil. So the first thing fresh oil does is to make the blessings of God an addition. The second thing fresh oil does is to exalt your horn. So influence becomes an entrustment God gives you because you choose righteousness. That's why 10 people can be preaching. Only 2 can address their generation. It's not about who has more Bible knowledge. It's about who is entrusted with influence. That's why 10 people can be in the oil business. Only 2 can become people who have authority in the market. That's how 5 people can be in the lecturing job. Only 1 becomes an Iroko tree there. Why? Because influence have been given. Influence is a function of fresh oil. And number 3, dominion is a function of fresh oil. It is because of that fresh oil that he said he is prospering even in the presence of his enemies. And so there are many of us, although we passed the test of God's leading, but we corrupted it by going the way of unrighteousness. So fresh oil attracts God's blessings. Fresh oil brings influence, and fresh oil brings dominion. But fresh oil is a function of righteous living, because you love righteousness and hate iniquity. It said the Lord has anointed you with fresh oil.